Welcome to another episode of the magazine. Today we're here with Joel Cordero. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. So tell us about your business.
So I do a lot of photography and video as well, primarily real estate. I do a lot of stuff over the water too for marinas, and lately I've been doing a lot more products for Basque, which is a local dispensary and grow facility, and I've actually been working with them for many years since they first started, helping them document the building of their facilities in Freetown, and more recently just really helping them with their marketing content. So a lot of what I do is for marketing purposes strictly. I don't work with the family portraits, or I don't do the weddings. I don't do things like that. I may on occasion for a friend or family.
Sure.
Somehow I always seem to get roped into one or two every year.
Mm-hmm. And always will.
And most likely always will. But I it's fun too. It's not a terrible thing, especially when you're doing a destination wedding. Like I did one in Mexico in October that just passed. I've done one in Jamaica. I've done one that was actually on a cruise all through the Caribbean. So those are fun.
Sure.
But mostly I do a lot of social media development, content development. So I help realtors either advertise their listings and also just promote their own brand. So it's usually very short, which I like to keep it that way because people's attention spans are shorter and shorter every day, and it's a fun job because everything changes, right? I don't go to the same place twice.
Okay.
Unless they're selling the same house a couple of years later, which has happened on occasion already. But I do a lot of drone work. I am a licensed drone pilot. I was actually the first licensed drone pilot at Channel 7 when it was NBC. Okay. Back in 2016.
So what does it entail to be a drone pilot?
If you want to do it commercially, you have to have a federal license. It's a chapter, I think it's called Part 107, and for me, the way I got started, I had this simple drone with a GoPro attached to it. Okay. And nowadays, I got like a fleet of drones that are so much more advanced. But typically, for example, yesterday I did a shoot for a realtor who wanted to advertise a piece of land that's already engineered for a developer, somebody that can come in, build a couple of houses, and there's no other way to really showcase that work. I mean, that opportunity, I should say. Without the drone, it's almost impossible, right? Because you come in on the ground and you're just going to look at a bunch of trees. Sure. Right? From the drone, I can hover over the entire plot, but then also showcase proximity. What's it next to? What's it close to? Mm-hmm. I can overlay the actual plot lines, so now you know exactly what you're getting as a buyer, as a potential builder. Sure. And it helps them to actually envision the final product. And so that is it's a huge advantage because otherwise, what are you going to do? Hire a helicopter or do a flyby? It's just not practical. It's not so.
But you need special permission and everything in order to do this.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, generally, when I'm hired to do it, I'm very conscious of not being over private properties and things like that, because you don't want to violate anybody's privacy or anything. But it's fairly easy to do. There's public roads everywhere, and then once you're so high up you're not really messing with anybody. So it's again, it's a very fun job because everything changes every time you're out. There's just something new, and I love that about the job.
That's great. So how did Cordero Video and Photo get started?
So it got started in really 2014. I was doing a lot of corporate events at the time, and it was like my part-time thing because I was at NBC. I was a broadcast editor there.
Sure.
And a drone pilot there a couple years later. And once, really, the business really got going once I got my drone license, because there was, I don't think, anybody in this market that was flying drones at that time. And it was the catapult, so to speak, to today, because everybody saw the advantages, especially in the real estate market and the marine industry, because again, over the water, how do you're not going to set up a tripod on the water, right?
Right.
And so it was a big help in, getting the business going.
I've seen some of your work. It's excellent.
Thank you.
But what are some of your favorite pieces that you've shot?
Some of my favorite work, I don't think I've even put out.
Oh.
I actually have an event coming up where I am going to display some of that work. Mm-hmm. So, I'm an artist through and through. I grew up drawing. I grew up painting, oils, acrylics, self-taught, and I could do realism. I could do abstract, whatever, and that was fun and dandy. But I was never going to make a living at that enough to support a family. So sure. I got into digital media. I was introduced actually to digital media as a teenager at a youth program that was more focused on the arts at first, and they just introduced us, and I never stopped using it since, because I saw all the advantages. I saw all the ways that you could literally manipulate the content, and it's so much more, I think, to me at least, expansive than the canvas, than the paper, and it's a little more rewarding for me. I still see the painting and then the drawing as therapy, just
okay.
Get yourself into a space where you can't really be distracted, and digital media has become that too for me, though. So.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you do a lot of preparation before you do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of equipment involved. There's a lot of batteries that need to be charged. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be packed. There's a lot of, prep work that goes into the work that I do, absolutely.
So you talked about real estate, a lot of the real estate shoots, but
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the typical shoots that you do on a day-to-day basis?
So on a day-to-day basis, I do a lot of real estate shoots, and I also I do a lot of cannabis shoots.
Okay.
So on a typical day for me starts off, get my kids ready, get them to school. Right after, I'm out already, usually by 9:30 at my first shoot. Okay. They could be anywhere between Boston and Cape Cod. Primarily, the South Coast is my hot zone. Okay. I do a lot of stuff in New Bedford, Dartmouth, Fairhaven markets, and I might, try to schedule myself so that I'm shooting one day, editing the next. That doesn't always work because New England weather.
So it changes on a day-to-day basis.
And we have to work around that, obviously, with the real estate stuff, because you want to get the drone in the sky, and sometimes if it's raining too much, it's not possible. But I will fly in light rain, and plenty of times we get enough good content to still use, because you can't avoid it in this area. So.
Right, exactly. So you got an event coming up, Sky's the Limit. What is that all about?
Sky's the Limit is an art exhibit and a fundraiser. It's a solo show. I have a lot of work that I've built up over the years that I've been just stashing away. Every time I go out and I shoot a property, if it's suitable, if it's nice weather or the scenery is nice or whatever, I shoot stuff for myself while I'm up there. Okay. Why not?
Right.
Right. I enjoy it. I love it, and I can't help myself. I see something I like, I got to start clicking. I got to start capturing, and so I've been building this massive database of all these towns in the area, okay. And I decided it's time for me to do something with it, and so I was going to get back into the galleries. I had shown in galleries in the past, and that's all fun and dandy. I enjoyed it. But I don't know, something to me just said, you know what? Do something on your own. Do it your way. Do it your style. Like, you know, why not, right? You have the opportunity, you have the means, I have a lot of friends that are supportive, and I said, let me just poke around and see if this can actually happen. And of course, it's become a bigger monster than I expected. But I think it's a beautiful journey, right? Like there's something about the process that is just, it's invigorating, and it's not something I take lightly, because it's so much planning, it's so much involved, and you know, so many things involved. And so I wanted to make it bigger than just an art show. I'm like, okay, what can I do with this? And so I decided to make it a fundraiser as well for Dream Out Loud Center of the Arts. And they're the program that introduced me to digital media when I was 15.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I, again, was, I think it was called Artworks at the time, had a program downtown, and, you know, they helped us be able to make paintings. They gave us, you know, the materials and the means and so on, and they would put on these art shows that we would be able to display some of our work as teens. You would never get that opportunity otherwise. And then they brought in Dream Out Loud, which at the time was called Brick by Brick, and they're the ones that pretty much helped us get going with Photoshop, because we started designing a magazine, a teen magazine, and I just fell in love. I never stopped using it since.
Nice, very nice. When is this exhibit?
So the exhibit is on June 16th, and it's going to be at the Kilburn Event Center, which is a beautiful space overlooking the water. They have a big rooftop balcony that's massive, and we're going to have 300 plus people there.
Wow.
It's going to be a very, very nice night.
So how can people get in touch with you in order to get tickets or to come attend the event?
So you can go to joelcordero.com, JOELCORDERO, no I. Everybody wants to stick an I in there, and that's all right. And all the information, details, and tickets are available there. The site is actually in beta form, but it's an online gallery of sorts as well, and it's actually one of my next big projects. So I've been building this massive database. So what do I do with it, right? What do I do with all this stuff? I can showcase it for a night. That's great. But now what? Okay, that's one night. So I decided to build this website where I can have by town, from Boston down to Cape Cod, Fairhaven, New Bedford, all these different towns that I've shot over the years, and just display a lot of these things for people to purchase if they want, for themselves or for gifts or whatever the case may be. And there's some stunning stuff out there that, you know, sometimes I'm like, wow, I forgot I shot that, you know, and it's nice to, again, go through the process, the journey, like realizing, okay, I have stuff that's worth putting out, and I have to. So that's what this show is about.
Well, that's great. And also sounds like the future is bright. So once again, how would people get in contact with you if they wanted to hire you or use your services?
Well, to get in touch with me, you can either call me directly or email me. I do have another website called Cordero Video Photo, which is the hub of my real estate business. Okay. And it is the business that I push more than anything, because it's part of what I enjoy the most. So joelcordero.com is like the gallery, and Cordero Video Photo is the easiest way to reach out to me. There's contact links right on there.
Well, great. Thank you so much for all you do for our community and for your talent to our community. Thank you, Joel.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Welcome back to the magazine. Today we're here with Lynn Katz. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So start from the beginning. When did you discover that you loved running, jogging?
So I started at an early age. My parents used to take us camping to Point Sebago, and being in the woods. I used to love to run through the woods barefooted to get from one place to the other. And then I just never remember a time when I wasn't running. And then through high school, I did winter and spring track. Just the sprints. I never liked the distance. Coach Belanja was the coach at the time for distance running, and they tried to sway me to go to the other side, but something about the distance and not being able to breathe just wasn't exactly the turn on for running that I wanted at the time. So I ended up continuing running just 5Ks locally, and then it just spiraled from there. And now I can't imagine a day without it.
So what inspires you to run long distances?
So I always tell everybody that running is the cheapest form of therapy. The only thing you need is a good pair of sneakers, and then the rest is just out on the road. So for me, the clarity that it provides me, the excitement that it can give me while I'm out there, the freedom that I get, the detox that I get. I've made amazing friends running. It's a huge community. Everybody's out there, one for one and all for one. The health-wise, being healthy, that as well. But I would definitely say that the main reason is just for that social piece, that connection that running brings into my life.
What are some of the challenges to long distance running?
Oh, there can be quite a few. So I think in the past, over the years, I should say, so I started long distance running in 2009. And back then, it used to be, which is great, that camaraderie. So it would be, okay, so when are we all running? And what time are we all running? So it's getting those schedules to mesh together. And when you have groups of people who have young children or who have elderly family members or things that they also need to do in their life, it's hard to get together. So we would always get together either 5 a.m. in the morning before school starts, or on the weekends before we have soccer practice or football practice. So meshing schedules was tricky. Also challenges when you're out there for a long period of time, finding a bathroom in case you need to. So that can be a little bit of a challenge. Or also if you're just not feeling well that day, but your friend is and they can take off and you want them to go ahead and push and do what they can do, the best that they can do, and you're like, I'm just not feeling good. So then you almost feel like you're holding others back. So I think those can be a few of the challenges that I've experienced over the time. But definitely the meshing of schedules if you're running with friends.
Of course. Now, are you on any special diet, or you have a special way of life eating?
So the only diet I have is I see food and I eat it. So I think I never restrict myself from anything. My meals themselves are fairly clean to begin with, but if I'm going to indulge, I'm going to eat the French fries, and I'm going to have my ice cream with the whipped cream on top of it. And I don't say that I can't have something because of something, but I also don't run to eat. I eat to run, which is different. So I definitely don't restrict myself, but I definitely don't overindulge either. So it's a fine balance.
Of course. Now, how do you stay in shape?
Aside from running,
Yes.
So I have a trainer that I work out with, Brian. He owns B Select in New Bedford, and I've been seeing him for years. So I started seeing him for runner's knee, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. And my chiropractor at the time had Brian working there. So he said, well, why don't you just go start seeing him? He can run you through some exercises. And I was like, okay, great. So I see him twice a week, aside from all the other things that I do. So on Tuesday is what I call our adult track night, which our coach, Jim Dandino, runs it out of Cushman Park in Fairhaven. So a group of adults, all ages and abilities, all meet there at 5:30, and he comes up and designs running programs for us that to meet wherever we are. So if you're running a marathon, if you're running a half marathon, if you're just starting out. So he does interval training there for us. So it's great to pull in these other things to stay in shape.
So you see I'm wearing the Boston shirt, of course, for an upcoming event that we're going to be having in just a few days.
16.
So tell us more about that, the Boston Marathon.
So it's very exciting. I am now in what's considered tapering. So I just did my last long run yesterday with a friend, and now my mileage dwindles down. So in order to prep for the Boston, I usually do a 16-week training program, and it consists of just weekly mileage. So that mileage ranges from 40 to just over 50, just maybe around 52 for me. And then also in that is a long run. And the long runs range from 15 to 22 miles. And then I do the interval training and tempo runs as well. And then my resting and recovering as well. And I'm excited that the tapering has started. So the mileage dwindles down, the long runs are no more, and then we sort of float into the marathon. It's my 12th one, so I'm very excited. It's always a great day. Being on the course, there are spectators the entire 26 miles. And they're not just spectators like one row deep. They're rows deep. And the further you get along the course, there's so many more people that are out there for you, which is great because it pulls you through, especially when you're not feeling it in that last 6 miles. But everybody brings you along. The noise, the energy, all the runners that are out there, you're never alone. And it's just an amazing experience to be out there and complete it. So very excited.
Well, I want to thank you, Lynn, and we will be watching for you. And where are you from?
I'm from Fairhaven, grew up here.
So we have a Fairhavenite in the Boston Marathon.
Yes, we do.
We are so proud of you, and we'll be rooting you on, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thanks.
Starts here.
It starts where it does here, Al, because that's where the railroad went in its day. And they stopped at each of the towns along the way, all the way into the city, the 8 towns.
Huge field of over 30,000. Off the start here at Hopkinton. And we have had a major separation.
Down to 6 athletes in the front.
Meanwhile, Edna Kiplagat has put the hammer down.
She's got 550 meters to go.
Uh-oh. Galen Rupp has been dropped.
It's sensational performance by Joffrey Karui.
And Edna Kiplagat is your 2017 Boston Marathon Women's Champion. Karui knows he's got enough distance to salute the crowd. 2:09:37.